American half pound of 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. I'm Adrienne Meddock.
And I'm Steve McGowan. We're in a band called the Beef People. We released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records, and we are record collectors and passionate especially about the expression of pop music perfection that is the single recording. Exploring the mystery of what makes for a great single is what propelled us to begin this podcast.
And we've got pop music perfection today.
Absolutely.
In Singles Going Steady, episode number 104.
Woohoo! And we're going to be talking about a band called Kid Creole and the Coconuts.
And the single is Endicott.
Yes. All right. We were just listening to this a little bit, and I just love this song so much. This is from 1985 on Sire Records. Kid Creole and the Coconuts are the invention of one August Darnell, who is, his parents are from South Carolina and Savannah, Georgia. He was raised in New York City, and he wanted to develop a kind of music that had maybe a dance, disco-y beat, but also reflected Caribbean, Trinidadian.
Yeah, this is American music in the broad sense. I mean,
Right.
you've got a healthy dose of Latin American,
Right.
Central American, Caribbean American, as well as U.S. American.
And funk. There's
Right.
a little funk in there. It's a beautiful melting pot of a lot of things. This is from their fifth LP. It was called In Praise of Older Women and Other Crimes. They started off, August Darnell started off with a band called Dr. Buzzard's Original Savannah Band, which was during the disco era. They had a hit, and kind of had a 30-ish kind of
so he definitely
kind of old school kind
dips
of
back
sound.
in the big band sound.
Yes, big band.
And like show bands, but not in a cheesy way.
Right.
And sort of the unbridled celebration. I mean, with the big bands were the punk of their day. It's
Yes.
kind of hard to think of them that
Right.
way, but they really did reject a lot of what had come before them.
Right.
And and were rebellious. It's kind of hard to think with sitting down at matching music stands as rebellious, but they're that they could be quite uplifting and iconoclastic, right?
Yes. And he did that for a while, and then they had Kid Creole and the Coconuts. They released a number of records. They had some success. They weren't huge. They had some hits in Europe. They always did very well in New York City. They would sell out Carnegie Hall. Very critics' darling sort of.
Yeah.
And we're known for putting on just a great live show.
Visually arresting, right? You've got August Kid Creole in his sort of updated 80s version of Cap Calloway with the zoot suit and mugging and playing it up and
a big band with horns
and with the Coconuts,
the
three
trio.
women singing behind,
right,
and the interplay, the show between the lead singer and backing singers as really part of the show.
Right, exactly. So this single came out in '85, and it was all over MTV. They made a fantastic video for it that kind of has a Pee-wee's Playhouse look to it in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, it's got the day glow
yes,
80s, but it's very well done.
Yes,
and it holds up, I think.
Yes,
right.
it does hold up. But the thing is, the song is just undeniably great.
Yeah, and the song is undeniable. I mean, you'll probably sing it now.
Right.
We'll play you a little bit, and it's gonna, it's infectious.
Yeah. So here we go. From 1985 on Sire Records, Kid Creole and the Coconuts, Endicott.
Endicott's giving it all he got. Endicott's job is 6 to 9. Endicott's home by 9:05. Endicott helps to cook the steak. Endicott helps to wash the plates. Endicott puts the kids to bed. Endicott reads a book to them.
Why can't you be like Endicott?
Endicott loves Tribina so. Endicott put her on a pedestal. Endicott's wish is her command, but Endicott don't make no demands. Endicott's always back in time. Endicott's not the cheating kind. Endicott's full of compliments. Endicott's such a gentleman.
Why can't you be like Endicott?
'Cause I'm free. Free of any made to order liabilities. Thank God I'm free. 'Cause it's hard enough for me to take care of me. Oh. Endicott's carrying a heavy load. Endicott never really ever moans. Endicott's not a wealthy guy, but Endicott pays the bills on time. Endicott's got ideas and plans. Endicott's what you call a real man. Endicott always will provide. Endicott is the family tie.
Why can't you be like Endicott?
'Cause I'm free. Freer than a pirate on a friggin' out at sea. Thank God I'm free. Drifting all around just like a tumbleweed. Oh. Maybe I need me someone who isn't undone. Maybe an older woman tolerate me. Maybe that certain someone, older and wiser woman. Maybe the perfect someone satisfy me. For sure. Endicott keeps his body clean. Endicott don't use nicotine. Endicott don't drink alcohol. Endicott use no drug at all. Endicott don't eat any sweet. Endicott don't eat piggy feet. Endicott frame is mighty strong. Endicott make love hard and long.
Why can't you be like Endicott?
Endicott love Tribina soul. Endicott walks her to the stone.
I think part of what makes that a great single is the lyrics are really a recurring riff.
Yes.
Endicott, right? You don't have to remember all the lines about
Right.
Endicott, right? You'll remember some of
Yes.
them, but you know that you can sing Endicott, right?
Right.
And you will be singing it.
Yeah.
And
you certainly remember Why Can't You Be Like Endicott?
right? And it's just catchy and participatory, right? You sing along, you're part of it, and it tells a funny story. You know, you've got these two characters. You know, the hero that's kind of a schmuck, the Ned Flanders of the
Right.
song, right? Who's just the ideal man,
Right.
versus our singer he wants
He's
to
a
be
layabout.
free,
Yes.
right? And maybe he'll find some older woman who's going to take him
right.
in and let
Take
him be
care
the
of me.
rascal that he wants to be, right?
And it's got that undeniable little guitar funk riff and the killer bass part, and the horns come in. It's just and the drums just bouncing along, snapping on that snare all the way through it.
It's
snare and
propulsive,
the
makes you
hi-hat.
want to dance, makes you want to sing, makes you
Yes.
want to shout.
Yes. So this single didn't do great. It was on MTV quite a bit. It got great. The album got good reviews. Robert Christgau compared him to Cole Porter.
Yeah.
So I mean that's not faint praise, especially from Christgau.
Right.
So,
It wasn't like this guy is no Cole Porter.
right. No, it was like he's really good, and it was a song that we just loved. I mean, I remember us playing it all the time.
Yep.
We had the I think we had the 12-inch of
think
it,
so.
and played it all the time. And it was on. There was a period there where it was on MTV, and every time it would be like, turn it up, Endicott's on, you know.
Right.
And Kid Creole and the Coconuts were right on the edge of that whole Z Records thing, which was a movement in New York that came out. With like the no wave stuff, James White and the Contortions and bands like that, even though they don't sound anything like that, they were kind of on that tip. His sidekick Cody Mundi, known as Stony Browder, put out a rap record that went really well as well. So they have a lot going on. August produced other records. He kind of did kind of a mini George Clinton. He produced records for the
stable of artists.
Right. You know, he was busy doing all that, but he's continued to put out records. They took about a 10-year recording hiatus, but they're still recording. They're
The
still
Coconuts
playing.
change, right?
Yes.
Who's in the Coconuts is ever revolving.
They're still playing. They're I read an article recently saying that it was time for their renaissance of the.
Yeah, this is somebody that deserves your due, deserves your attention,
Right.
and you'll be rewarded with, something happy and danceable
Yes, I agree.
and interesting. I mean, it's really it's an interesting confluence of American sounds, meaning both continents.
It's one of the happiest, most fun single we've podcasted about. It's undeniably great and really, really impressive how he pulled this one off. Could you hear anyone covering this?
Boy, it's hard to you've got it's such a perfect mix.
It covers so much,
and there are people that try to do the big band thing,
Right.
but it ends up a little more turgid. I mean, the fact
Right.
that this jumps is really maybe get in the time machine and see what Cab Calloway would have done with it.
Yep, I can hear. We did a podcast about the song "Genius Move." And I was
that's
thinking maybe
good.
that Petrol Emotion, trying to give it that kind of, with the drums and the.
Yep.
Yeah, it
That's good.
might be an interesting take on it. So.
Not a bad one.
Do you have a recommendation today?
Recommendation today, boy. I think my recommendation might be based on what I had for lunch today, which was a vegan version of chicken soup. You say,
Yum.
well, how do you get that? With the soy protein and a broth, and I think to make up for the lack of meat, I get it at the local food co-op.
Yes,
They always
lovely.
have a vegan alternative. Their vegan alternative is often more flavorful.
Yes.
Flavorful.
Yes.
Favorably flavorful. I'm creating my own portmanteau. More flavorful. Even more satisfying. Stick to your rib.
Right.
So try the vegan option if you have an opportunity.
I had the vegan sandwich today, and it was delicious. Some kind of, I think it was some kind of chicken. Vegan thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It was delicious. That's all that matters. My recommendation, again, we've talked about him twice already, but he's kind of the patron saint hanging all over this is Cab Calloway.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not remember Cab Calloway anymore. Minnie the Butcher, obviously. I remember when I was working at WMRB,
The music of your life.
there was a double LP set of all the Cab Calloway stuff, and it had all the essential, recordings. It had St. James Infirmary and, Minnie the Moocher and, all those songs. I mean, he really was the man.
Right.
He was the prince of his era.
Yeah, the prince of his era, the George Clinton of his era.
Right.
He's the font from most of what that sort of big, impressive, fun inflected.
Right.
It's hard to explain, but
Some might remember him from the Blues Brothers movie, but that was very late in his career. But the early recordings, the old recordings, are really worth checking out, and I'm sure you can stream them. See what all the excitement was, and then there's the big band, there's Cab, there's the dancing, there's the zoot suits. You know, it's the whole package.
Yeah.
You know, it was a rock and roll tour as a big band. You know,
Yep.
And he was the man. There was no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, we were still talking about music that was directly influenced. Yes,
Right.
you know, not just Kid Creole, but lots of other things too.
Yes.
So that's my recommendation. Singles Going Steady 104, Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Their wonderful song Endicott. Endicott, don't eat no pig's feet. We love it. It's great stuff, and we will talk to you again very shortly, I hope.
To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records.
Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.
I was crying in the middle of the night.